explain how America was a 400-year punishment for African Americans for their ancestors handing Jesus over to be crucified. African Americans are really the tribe of Judah. And when Jesus was crucified, they were the only tribe left in Israel. The other 11 tribes had been scattered by the Syrians and Babylonians. And this is why the Greeks started calling them Jews, short for Judah. So when Jesus was born, he's born to the tribe of Judah, today known as African Americans. African Americans are the direct blood relatives of Jesus. And they're the ones that handed Jesus over to the Gentiles and said, he's not the Son of God. So God said to African Americans' forefathers, I'm going to hand your sons over to the Gentiles and say, you're not my people. African Americans' forefathers, they handed Jesus over to the white man to be whipped, stripped, humiliated, tortured, forced to carry the cross hung from a tree. So God said to African Americans' forefathers, I'm going to hand your sons over to the white man to be whipped, stripped, humiliated, tortured, forced to carry things and hung from trees. This 400-year punishment will be the fourth beast from the book of Daniel that would subjugate Israel. The first being Egypt, Assyria, Babylon. This fourth beast would be the longest and the hardest. This 400-year punishment is what God said to Abraham in Genesis 15:13, where he says, Abraham, know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, where they'll worship wood and stone, and they'll be slaved and mistreated for 400 years. So he said they'll be in America where there will be Christian or Muslim, and they'll be enslaved and mistreated for 400 years. The first slaves came to America 1619 in Jamestown, Virginia. 2019 is 400 years. He said, then I'm going to punish the nation they served as slaves. That's 2020. He said, then I'm going to bring them out with great possessions. So the curse that was on African Americans is now on the Gentiles. And that's why things haven't been the same since 2020. But getting back to when after African Americans' forefathers, the tribe of Judah, handed Jesus over, 40 years later, Rome destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD. And African Americans, the tribe of Judah, escaped into Africa. Now, Lot had escaped into the Middle East, or had been living in the Middle East. Well, God then raised the Muslim conquest to push them out of the Middle East and get them into Africa. Some had escaped into Europe, had been living in Europe, and been enslaved in Europe. Well, God then, the Muslim conquest was 700, 600 AD. Well, then the Catholic was 1200 AD. So about 600 years later, God used the Catholic Church to push African American tribe of Judah out of Europe and Spain and get them into Africa. And once he got us all into Africa, he then had the Arabs, the Africans, who are Gentiles, and the Arabs, the Africans, and the Khazarians, the ones claiming to be Jews today. They were running the slave trade, or the transatlantic slave trade. They owned the slave ships and stuff eventually. But they had us all, once God had us rounded up in Africa, then he had the Gentiles sell us into slavery. And once we got to America, African Americans got to America, that's when our 400 years begun. The 400-year punishment is all broken down in Deuteronomy 28. All the curses of Deuteronomy 28, what would happen to African Americans. Essentially, what God wanted to do was to make them a no people for making him a no God. So African Americans' forefathers, starting out when Moses brought them out of Egypt, they kept coming in slavery, Egypt, Egyptian slavery, Syrian slavery, Babylonian slavery. He kept putting them under the Amalekites, the Philistines. All the Old Testament's about how he's trying to get his people to stop trying to be like the Gentiles, worship the Gentile gods. Because the Gentile gods, if you wanted to be gay, you worship the gay god. If you wanted to have revenge on your enemies, you sacrifice your child to this god. If you want to have orgies, you give your child to be a child prostitute in a temple to be a temple prostitute for this god. So you're giving up your children to be killed or molested to worship these gods so you can do all these sins. Instead of worshiping the one God you've seen with your own eyes, but he has all these rules. And every time you break the rules, you sin, you have to give a sin offering. You have to give one of your bulls, some of your money. Every time you sin, you're sinning all the time. Then they have festivals every year where you go, then give more of your herds to God. So you have this God with all these rules you have to give money to all the time. But then you have these other gods who you can sin. All you have to do is do evil. So